Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. This week, we will be covering customizing properties for the Yammer Communities app in Teams. Microsoft Search usage reports get some updates. And then Power Apps. You can now display images that are hosted in Microsoft Lists. Let's roll it. Yes, hello. Welcome everyone to episode 196. Hello, Daryl.
Hey, Daniel.
We have some interesting topics, but the first thing I would like to talk about is, since this is episode 196, we have 3 more episodes, 197, 198, 199, before kind of a big number, 200. So
Our bicentenary, yes.
Yes,
That's
it's
a big deal for us because it feels like it's about 4 years.
it's a long time.
Yeah.
And Daryl is going to paint his chest with white, and then he's going black letters. He's going to paint your Twitter handle as long as you send us $100 US.
Hey, we didn't talk about this. Am I going to be a billboard for someone's
Yes.
social handle?
No, here's what we're going to do, people. For those
Funny story, actually. Funny
no.
story. As part of the stag do before I got married over 20 years ago, I did get my wife's initials shaved into my chest, but that's another story.
Wow.
Right, okay. Continuing.
Okay. Thank you, Daryl. This is his last episode. No. All right. For those that watch the show or listen to the podcast, what we'd like to do is maybe put together something a little special for episode 200. And we'd like for you, yes, you, to participate. So we'd like for you to take a video of yourself, 10 seconds or so video of yourself using your phone, your desktop camera, whatever it is. Take a video of yourself and maybe tell us, say your name and then say why you find this show helpful or why you like the show or maybe why you don't like the show. And then send a link. So maybe you share that in OneDrive or some other, and then you send a link. Or if it's okay size, you could send the video itself to the email address 200. So right, 200 at 365mcs.com. Okay, so the email
There's
is
also an address set up for complaints at 365mcs.com. If you ever want to just do like a 10-second complaint and we can put it into a montage as well.
We can do that too. So for this, we need you to get on it. If we, it would be great. Not counting all the things you've seen or heard up in this episode. So 200 at 365mcs.com. We'd love to see those videos so we can do something a little special and you can be part of that 200 episode. So we'd really appreciate that. Let's dive in, Daryl, if that's okay. Actually,
Right.
I wanted to say, go ahead and hit the subscribe, ring the ding-a-lingy bell thingy, and hit the thumbs up and all those kind of things in YouTube and then, of course, in podcast software that you're using.
You're starting to sound like and all the things. And
All the things.
All the things.
Touch
all
the
things,
button. Touch the button. Launch the thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, along with all of these things, customize the properties for Yammer Communities app in Teams. MC257689. Rolls off the tongue, 689. The Yammer Communities app, also just known as Communities within Teams, along the app bar. If you are using it within your organization and you use Yammer, then you can access Yammer directly from Teams. I actually quite like, Daniel, that when you are using it from Teams, that the notifications all sit in the activity feed. That's a pretty cool feature.
I agree with you. It's nice to have everything in one place, kind of like, I don't know, let's say an email box. But Anyway.
Well, yes, the activity feed is the inbox for Teams. But this message is more about if your organization has gone to the extent of branding Yammer communities and making it feel like maybe it's not Yammer. A bit like what we do sometimes with our intranets, that we don't want to call it SharePoint. We want to just call it whatever our intranet is called. And so you do what you can to make it look quite different and not look like SharePoint. Well, with Yammer, you might have gone to that extent, and you soon will be able to rename the app from communities, change the description, change the app icon, and the accent color. So those are 4 things that you could do to give that app a different identity when it's sitting on the app rail. Of course, when you go through to Yammer, it's still going to be called Yammer. But as some put it on the socials this week, if you wanted to name the communities app back to Yammer, if you're a Yammer fanboy or girl, then you can. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
I agree with you. You can. If that's your thing, it really depends on your organization. As long as it's not you're making this decision for your company because that's what you have called it forever. Well, just because that's what you've called it doesn't mean everybody else knows it. And if you've been using this communities app now, and now you're going to switch it, Yeah. So I think it really depends. If you've been using Yammer for as long as you've been, you've had it, and now you're going to start using it in Teams, yeah, it might be worth calling the app Yammer, but since that's what everybody is used to. I will caution you, though, is that something that will last? I don't know. I mean, yes, you can be able to do this now. Will you be able to rename it to something forever? I don't know. I would think so, but just be aware that, this may change at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, with Viva bringing things together in Viva Connections, we know that it'll be Yammer in the background, but it actually doesn't really have an identity there. It's just a place where community conversations are surfaced. So anyway, this is going to be, we expect this rollout to be completed in June. And if you see the communities app version is greater than version 2.2.3, then functionality has been enabled in your tenant. Now, I might have a bit of fun with that later on just to see what I can do and push the boundaries and come up with some fun community thing. But well, Daniel, you cautioned me that I can't do anything with Disney and use the Mickey Mouse Club.
Stop saying words. Stop saying words. We have to blip those.
I said Misney.
God.
Anyway, let's move on to the next message because that's probably the safest thing. Daniel, tell us about what's happening with Power Apps.
Wow. Power Apps can now display images from Microsoft List MC257468. This is targeted release to roll out June 2021 and will be completed by mid-June, and then standard release to all other cloud environments. I'm assuming that means in Microsoft cloud environments. We'll begin in mid-June, completed by end of June. This is, so if you're creating a Power App and you are using a SharePoint connector to pull in information, you will be able to utilize and display a image that's stored in an image column in the list, in the Microsoft list. Remember, that's a SharePoint list, right, in the back end. So you'll be able to display an image. This development, I think this is great for those that are creating apps to help those in the front line that are working with inventory, that are working with customers. I mean, you could use this as a sales tool, right? To be able to display the information on an iPad or on their phone while they're trying to, I said a copyrighted name there, their tablet device or their phone. They can, help by showing the image. I think this really expands the capabilities where you've had to do it in a weird way maybe before. So kind of out of the box capability. So it says you may want to notify your users. I think definitely you want to notify those that are creating Power Apps in your organization to this new capability, because this could change the way they're developing their applications to utilize the media content, those images.
Those Power Apps people in that community, they probably already know even before this message. They're a pretty tight community. They would have jumped on that and said, yes, finally we can do that. Because, my opinion, it's interesting that you couldn't do that beforehand. That probably would have been a useful thing out of the box, but it's cool to see it.
We have to remember Power Apps is not a SharePoint Forms tool. It is its own application development tool within the Microsoft 365 space. Speaking of space, let's talk about Headspace.
Well, Headspace, yes. Getting into that Headspace, getting out of that Headspace. This message is an update reminder. This is a strange one. Update reminder for Headspace mindfulness content in Microsoft Viva Insights is here. MC 257054. You'll probably have to replay that back on the podcast to try and understand what I just said. But it's calling ahead to say that Headspace content, Headspace mindfulness content is coming. So it's not here, it's coming. As stated in April this year, when they talked about Microsoft Viva, Headspace is a partner, or has partnered with Microsoft to deliver some pretty cool content, little meditations and videos, and I think there's music and things as well. But you can play through this to try and maybe tune out of work as something of a virtual commute. And I'd be interested to see how it plays out. This is going to be available, rolling out late June and expected to roll out ending late July. You have to have Microsoft Viva Insights running. And to have Insights, you need to have an Exchange Online mailbox. So there's some layers to these requirements. But yeah, once you've got that place, Headspace will become available, and you'll be able to do your virtual commutes, mindfully wrap up after a meeting. Whatever you want to do to try and just chill out and take that micro break. Daniel, before we have Headspace and mindfulness type things, what's something that you do when you just need to take a quick break and tune out between meetings or big tasks?
Take a nap? No. I usually in this past, 15 months, or I don't know, however long it's been, I've lost track of time. We'll get up and go, refill my water cup and take a walk, or change the music, turn on some music and whatever mood I'm kind of in, whether it's classical or rock or anything in between. So that's what I do. What do you typically do to kind of
similarly, I try and change the scene. I try and get away from the screen. I try and go for a walk. I do really enjoy being able to get some fresh air and get the blood pumping a bit, walk up a hill. I think like mindfulness content from Headspace might be helpful before you jump into the car to drive home, if you're now starting to work from the office again, or maybe you want to listen to it on the train or something like that. But we'll see. So there are some, what else is there? It's going to be rolling out default on. So if you're an organization that wants to turn something like this off, then take a closer look at the message. There's some PowerShell commands for that. We'll just wait to see what happens when that lands, and maybe we can bump that down to the callbacks once it does arrive, and we could have a mindfulness moment on the episode.
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Speaking of search,
I did say search. Yeah, sorry, search.
We have such a good time here. I hope you wonderful people watching and listening are having a good time with us. I hope you are. The next message is Microsoft Search Usage Reports for Modern Site Collections, MC 257054. 055. Targeted release select users. This is interesting. Will begin late May and should be completed by mid-June. And then standard release, no mention about targeted release that's not selected users, but standard release will begin mid-June and complete by early July. And this is getting new search reports for top searches, abandoned searches, no results queries, which is an interesting one, impression, distribution, so what things are, how it's being distributed, the looks, and then the query volume. That we already have the trends for those modern site collections. I think those no results queries are interesting to help you see what people are looking for and not finding, because that is probably top 3 killer of any intranet is I can't find what I'm looking for. And something that Daryl mentioned off air just came to my mind. And anyway, still haven't found what I'm looking for. So
you too, huh?
But
yeah.
So how will this affect your? Again, you'll get these reports, and I pulled this up as kind of this. Just the maybe we should be over there. And just showing on the screen, what this might look like, having these top queries, of course, but these no results queries and these abandoned queries, meaning they did a search but scrolled through it and said, nothing fits. So getting this information for those that really are managing your intranet, this is very important. Now, if you set your intranet up and you say, okay, site admins, you go and update your content whenever you want to, I'm out. That's really not managing an intranet. That's it being an admin, I guess. That's not really being managing it and helping with adoption. So if you are helping with adoption and you want your intranet to be useful and you want those in your organization to find it helpful, then these search reports are going to be something that you should be looking at pretty regularly. You really should. You should be in here looking, especially you can think about what happens when you roll out some benefits program and you go and look that people are searching for something that's related, and you can kind of think, oh, that's what they're looking for, but they're just typing it wrong. Well, maybe you need to, change your hints and put in some results that will help them get to their information. So anyway, do you agree with that, Daryl? That, you have to really, I think of it as massaging search. You've got to really make it work for your users in a way that that they keep finding it helpful and find what they're looking for. Do you agree?
If 600 people are searching for something that you tried to guide them to, but they didn't click through, or they wrote something that was similar, then you're already getting more information that you're going to be able to use to help guide people to that piece of information, especially if it's an internal campaign on a certain thing. I think this is going to be important. Is this detail that it's just for site owners, isn't it? It's not just something that anyone can get to.
Right. This is for when you're configuring the search settings, then it's going to be the owners, getting to the information. Yeah. Search administrators will be able to view this for the last 31 days from the previous year. What? Sorry, I've read that several times, and then I just read it again, and I'm like, or monthly from the previous year. Whew, I missed that or. I was like, it made sense to me earlier when I reviewed this, but right then it didn't. Yes, so you'll be able to see it for the past 31 days or get monthly reports for the past year. Okay. All right. Whew. I was confused there for a second. I'm sorry, folks, if it threw you as much as it threw me for a loop there. All right. The time for quick mentions has come to our show. The time for quick mentions, so go.
Oh, very Zeus of you. Dr. Zeus, I might add. Oh, no, another copyright infringement. Well, let's just make a quick mention about a message that was updated. We don't often mention the updated messages because it's just a rescheduling, but it is a important feature that a lot of people are waiting for, and that is dynamic view in Microsoft Teams. So it's been updated on the 20th of May based on initial feedback. We're addressing issues and have updated the rollout timeline. Thanks for your feedback. The new rollout for the Teams dynamic view. For non-EDU enterprise customers, they'll begin rolling it out at the end of May and expect to be complete mid-June. And EDU customers will begin rolling mid-June, expect to be complete early July. We're all looking forward to it because it is going to make our content look interesting without too much effort in a meeting. But yeah, it's just been pushed out a bit further. Daniel, what about IE 11?
Yes, IE 11, Internet Explorer 11, desktop application retires on Windows 10, June 15th, 2021. Just wanted, to let everyone know we've talked about IE 10 in the past. Now we're talking about IE 11. Remember that it is being retired 1 year and a few weeks from now. That it is, and we got information. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. This is what I was looking for. This how to transition to the new Edge. So you need to pay attention to this for those that are still using IE 11. How you can continue to utilize your those applications maybe that rely on it when you move to Edge and using the IE mode. So you need to be testing that and making sure it'll work. You got to get off IE 11. You just got to now. So want to make sure that you're doing that. And it is, like I said, you got a year and a little bit. I think what you need, they're also, you can see these in the browser usage reports in the Admin Center, the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, to see if people are using IE 11 to access M365 and then take appropriate action. So very important. You've got a year, but don't let we just talked about losing track of time. So it'll sneak up on you. You need to address this now. That's why I'm sharing this with you. There's my transition for the next one, Daryl.
All right. Well, and I think I have some bad network quality, so just nudge me if I need to be unfrozen.
You're good.
I'm good. All right. Some consistency. Microsoft lists, sharing these lists will now be more consistent with the files and folders experience when we share files and folders from OneDrive and SharePoint. Go to share a Microsoft list and you'll see the same kind of choices for creating sharing links. So this is really good to see. People are getting familiar with how to share. They don't have to learn a whole other different set of restrictions and capabilities. It's all familiar within the Microsoft 365 stack. Lastly, Daniel, tell us about Outlook.
Outlook, changes in how feedback is submitted, MC257051. This is rolling out early June, expected to be done by late June. But really, there's a lot of, I like this message because they've got a lot of screenshots here showing you what it's going to look like in the different platforms. So Outlook for iOS, and then Outlook for Android, Outlook for Mac, etc. Basically, they're giving, changing the way when you submit feedback in the app, they are giving you more options. So you can provide greater detail, give them a little bit more information about what's going on, really to help you, instead of just saying, give you a box and say, whatever, tell us stuff. It's trying to categorize this so they can take action. So it's just a better, now, yes, it's a little more information, I think they're wanting, but it's not that much more. And it really can help you walk through that flow of, I don't like something. What is it that you don't like? Tell us about it. So Anyway, it's good stuff. I like it. Anytime they're going to actually listen to our feedback when something is really bad, then I like it. The transition now is to callbacks. And what is special about today, Daryl? Today's episode for callbacks. Callbacks.
We have two. We've been greedy because we so often we let you down, right? And we kind of find that, there's just, was I too harsh there? Sometimes we just don't have anything, Daniel. In fact, this one's weird, right? I am actually looking for it now, and I can't find it. Come on now, where are you?
I can show it. I can demo it.
All right. Well, this is the set out of office for Microsoft Teams, and that's MC252199. This allows you to set your out of office directly from Microsoft Teams. So you can go up to the set status message window where you can change and drop in a note there to say I'm off to lunch and all sorts of stuff there. But this new link, which is available, it's there on the screen with Daniel, lets you to go through and set your out of office message. So you can turn that on, you can type in a message there, you can set whether it's the same for internal versus external, and you can set the date for how long it's going to be. These are all familiar choices when we're setting our out of office in Outlook. Now, one thing that while we are here, Daniel, if I was to do this here and set it, then it's going to also carry over to Outlook. So I'm setting it in Teams, it will set it in Outlook too, that's great. One thing I do find though, which is quite convenient, when I go to Outlook and set it there, it has my message from last time, so I could just tweak it a bit, change it. If it's something that I use in a frequent sort of state, then it's very easy for me to change there too. The other thing that it will do, if you were in that screen initially to set a status message, this out of office message actually overrides it. You might have noticed that when you set out of office in Outlook, that if you have a message, it's going to present it in that set status window, or no, rather it will appear in that status message. And so that way, when people internally are looking at your status, they can see, okay, well, Daryl's on annual leave, or Daryl's running a course today, so he won't be as responsive as usual. But yeah, I think it's good to see that. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things though where I'm so used to doing it from Outlook, and I have a full set of options, and I do it there because I've got to do other things while I'm there, and I'm in there with my calendar, that I would just do it there. Have you used it yet, Daniel?
I haven't used it in Teams, no, but I mean, it has the most important part of an out of office for me so far, which is the very bottom of when to send this out of office. So you can schedule it to say from this time to this time. I think that's so important. But I think with this transition, I think more and more going to Teams, it's going to be interesting to see how, if people transition to Teams rather than staying, doing things like this, calendaring and Outlook. I still do this in Outlook. So, if I'm setting out of office, but, if for some reason I'm in Teams and I'm about to go out of office, I might just do it in Teams, while I'm there. It might be just a convenience thing for me, but
yeah. Well, the other quirky thing too, when you go to set that out of office message, you got to type it from scratch each time. So that's just a thing. It will come through as plain text, but I remember when I did set it this week that I had used some carriage returns to try and format it and make it look, a bit like you would normally have in an out of office message. Yet when I went back to turn it off and to look at it again, it had removed those carriage returns, and it was just kind of a big blob of text. So it still needs a bit of massaging around the formatting, but it'll get there perhaps. We'll see what it looks like. I think this actually transitioning to our next callback is kind of a similar discussion about what you do from Teams versus Outlook.
Yeah, this is exactly. So this one is new Teams meeting lobby setting. Only invited users join directly. MC33466. And you're right. It's what is the difference between what can be done in Teams and what can be done in Outlook? So what do we mean? Because you would think, hey, I'm in my meeting. I've set up my meeting. Okay. I've set up my meeting. Now come into and it's already sent, because this is the way Teams works. You don't get into the meeting settings until you've already set up the meeting and sent the invite. So you go into the meeting. Who can bypass the lobby? I can now choose people I invite, parentheses, turn off allow forwarding in the meeting invite. Okay.
Pause.
So I'm pausing because what I just said kind of should make you go, wait a minute, the meeting invite's already sent. Right? Because I can't get into the meeting options until I have sent the meeting. Mm-hmm. So I don't. And so when you're in Outlook, you can most certainly do this. You could turn off while you're scheduling a meeting. You can turn off the ability to forward the meeting. But in Teams, you can't do that. In Teams, you don't have that option. So I'm not entirely sure what this is. So I just don't know what you would do with this. I don't know if you're only in Teams. I don't know what you would do with this, because maybe you would send the invite to one person, because you have to actually invite someone else before it turns it into a Teams meeting. And then you can come in here and set the setting, and then you add other people to it and send it.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward.
It's confusing, right?
Well, look, what's the main goal of the setting? It's if you are inviting people to a meeting, they're named, they're in the required field or in the optional field, I guess, then they're going to be able to get straight through the lobby. And, that might be good for when you're inviting presenters, and there'll be other people that might attend. And like maybe you've shared a link to the meeting publicly, internally, and you want your presenters to come straight through so that they can do all the preamble and then let the other people in through from the lobby when you're ready to go live. So a bit like we're doing something before a webinar, hey? But yeah, there's just some awkward jiggle here that it works great if you're setting up this meeting from Outlook, and you can set that setting to make sure that the invite can't be forwarded. If that's a use case that you're wanting to prevent people from coming in, and you just want your invited people to come straight through and miss the lobby. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just a little awkward there of what the workflow would be, right? Of how would I use Teams only to prevent forwarding when I've already had to send it before I can change that setting. Maybe you do default to this. I don't know. But that is the show. I am going to throw up on the video, I'm throwing up the email address. We'd love for you, again, to take a 10-second or so video of yourself telling us why you watch the show. What is this impact the show has on you? So the email address is 200-200-at365mcs.com. We'd love to see those come through, and want to hear from you so we can possibly share what you say on the 200th episode.
Yeah, we'll celebrate with you, your compliments, your complaints, your
send it
whatever.
all.
I mean,
send it all.
Send it all. We're good. You've had 200 episodes of it by the time you'll see it on screen. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we would really appreciate that. And we'd appreciate you subscribing and hitting the thumbs up and everything. And also, following us on Twitter, 365MCS. There are multiples of people who watch and listen to this that don't follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Oh man, you know what? You're starting to sound like that new phrase that YouTubers say. The one that goes, and by the way, we've found that 70% of you who are watching this don't actually subscribe. So subscribe now.
Oh, so maybe I'm cool like that.
Yeah. I mean, you're up with it. You just blend it.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. We'd love to hear from you on the socials, so ping us and remember to send those videos our way. This is episode 196. Bye-bye for now.
See ya.